Everyone, meteorologist Scotty Powell here with the Carolina Weather Group. New tornado warning has just been issued for Abbeville County, South Carolina. So let's get the radar screen shared so that way you can see what I'm seeing and we'll talk about this warning. Let me get this up and going. It's going to be a brand new tornado warning here for Abbeville, South Carolina. So this tornado warning will be going until 6:45. This is a tornado warning for Abbeville County, South Carolina. Again, this is going to be for Abbeville and Anderson County, South Carolina, until 6:45 this evening. So you can see this storm has a well-defined hook. I do not like the looks of this. If you are in this area near just north of Calhoun Falls, along Highway 81 between Lounsville, and Calhoun Falls, you need to be in your safe place. This is a very defined hook on this tornado warned cell. We definitely could be seeing a developing tornado here with this storm. So let me get the velocities going, and you can see we are watching this area right in here for Abbeville County. This is a tornado warned cell. So if you live anywhere in this part of the county, and I'm trying to pull up Google Maps here so I can give you some locations of some communities here. So bear with me for one moment here. This is going to be for Abbeville County. So if you live anywhere near Old Rocky River Cemetery, if you live anywhere near the Rocky River Presbyterian Church, Abbeville County, Monterey Station number 9 here on Monterey Road, you need to be in your safe place. This is going to be on Old Calhoun's Farm Road, Old Calhoun Falls Road, Jacobs Chapel Road. This is going to be Monterey Road. Abbeville County Landfill is in this location. We are looking at, let's see, we have the Newton Road, Hagler Street Road, and Gasson Way Farm Road. So these areas, if you are in this part of Abbeville County in South Carolina, you need to be in your storm shelter. This is a very defined hook with this storm, and this storm could be producing a tornado right now. So if you live in this area of Abbeville County, this is going to be between Lounsville, Calhoun Farms. This storm is moving off to the northeast. We'll put it in motion. You can see moving off into the northeast. You need to be in your safe place. If you live anywhere near Abbeville, you need to be in your safe place right now. Abbeville, South Carolina, be in your safe place right now. This is a defined, well-defined hook on this storm that could potentially be producing a tornado. Again, a tornado warning out until 6:45. This is for Abbeville County and portions of Anderson County. You see this little slither of Anderson County, but right now, the primary focus is going to be along Highway 81 between Lounsville and Calhoun Farms. This storm is going to be moving off to the northeast near Abbeville. Here's Abbeville. We just called out some of these area roadways. This is more of a rural location, but people still live there. So if you live anywhere near the Rocky River Presbyterian Church, near Abbeville County Fire Department, Station number 9, Inez Boutique, you need to be in your safe place as this tornadic warm storm is moving into your areas. Again, looks like the circulation is going to be passing very close to the downtown Abbeville area. So we need to be in our storm shelters, in our safe place. Means you need to be in the lowest level of your home. If you have a basement, that's the best place to be. But if you don't, lowest level, most centralized location. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible as the storm passes through. It's always great to have a helmet. A lot of injuries in tornadoes come from trauma to your head. So if you have a helmet, bicycle helmet, football helmet, baseball helmet, whatever the case may be, as long as it's protecting your head, it's going to protect you. Again, if you live just in the Abbeville area, You need to be in your safe place, as this cell, again, a pretty defined hook. And I see Jared Smith is joining us now. So, Jared, watching this tornado warned cell move into the area. And while you talk, I'm going to get my ear pods so we don't echo each other. So, I'm going to let you take over for just a second so I can get my AirPods in.
Sounds good. And Scotty, we'll just leave your radar up here. This is as good of a look as any. So again, looking at this, it's pretty good looking circulation. And I've been looking also at the radar. I've also got another source of radar here. Another thing that I'm keeping an eye on to see is this going to start kicking up debris? When we do that is the correlation coefficient product. That will help us see whether storms are beginning to kick those in. So again, I got the high resolution radar right here. I'm going to swap myself for this, Scott, if you don't mind. I'm going to just swap that in for a minute. And again, we're looking here. Here's the storm track. There's the circulation. There's your hook. There's your velocity couplet right there. Storm relative velocity couplet. Pretty good inbounds, pretty good outbounds. Let me sample this guy real quick. You won't be able to see it on this screen, but I can tell you that again, it's not the strongest circulation ever, but it is enough. It's enough to get it done. And so we'll want folks in the areas that Scotty called out. He had again, Lounsville, this is probably just behind you at this point. Calhoun Falls, I think you're probably going to be okay, but places like Abbeville, Lake Secession, probably just missing you to your south. Again, this is not a big supercell. This is a very small, very shallow supercell. If we look at the echo tops on this, the tops on this only go to about 26,000 feet. So again, it's a very shallow thunderstorm that is moving through there. Scotty, I think we've got your audio back. So
yeah, I think I'm back. Yeah, Jared, whatever forms today, at least from now throughout the rest of the evening, the environment is ripe for any of these storms to really start to rotate. A lot of this area was able to destabilize. We did have some morning rain, but skies cleared out pretty quickly by lunchtime here in the upstate of South Carolina, and that really allowed the atmosphere to destabilize. And now, as the actual cold front moves into the area, we could see storms form ahead of the front and then along the front. So that's where we stand the chance to see these thunderstorms, these supercells to develop. And there's enough shear in the atmosphere that we could see some of them rotating. We had a tornado warning earlier in Guilford County and Randolph County that actually produced there's a picture out there. At least it's a funnel cloud. Don't know if it's touching the ground. There was no damage reports in that area, but it was a clear funnel from that storm that did produce that tornado warning earlier. So any of these storms have the potential today to rotate. So we have to watch them closely. And again, if you live in the Abbeville community, due west, I know you're not technically in this warning yet, but as the storm progresses to the northeast, you're going to be next in line for this.
Yeah, due west, Donalds, Ware Shoals, crossing. Put that storm track back on here real quick and get us a couple ticks here. So every tick on this line is about 15 minutes. So 15. So in under a half hour or so, if this storm holds up, could cross Highway 178 between Hodges and Honey Path, potentially going right into Ware Shoals. And I would keep an eye on this also if you're in the Lawrence area and then approaching I-385, not too far after that, getting into the next hour. So again, we'll see. We'll see if, obviously we'll see if this holds up. The polygon is drawn somewhat small to not overwarn. But if so far the circulation certainly seems to be holding its own. Again, this is a relatively shallow storm. But if there's one piece of good news so far is that, we're not lofting debris. At least we're not lofting debris 2,300 feet in the air. But again, if you know somebody who's in this area and you can give them a call, let them know that, hey, there's a potential for a tornado. If y'all have any reports, hit us up in the chat when it's safe. We'd love to know. We'd love to know what you're seeing on the ground too, because again, the radar only shows us so much. As we've been talking about a lot with our storm spotter classes, we only get so much out of the radar. So it is super helpful to have that ground truth as we continue to track these storms.
It definitely is, Jared. And looking at the NROT product, I'm sure you can pull that up too. See, we've got some rotation there, so that's the area that we are monitoring. One thing I was kind of looking at the Google Maps while you were talking, just kind of get an idea of the lay of the land here. And a lot of this is rural area, but there's still people that
Yes.
live in this rural community. So
Yes.
if you hear any of these roads that I'm about to call out, you definitely want to be in your safe place. So Jacobs Chapel Road, Monterey Road, up towards Highway 70. Excuse me, Highway 71. If you live near the Abbeville County landfill, Gasson Way Farm Road, Young Lane, Molasses Mill Road, over towards let's see, that is Rocky River Presbyterian Church, Shady Grove Church, let's see, Old Calhoun Farms Highway, Callaway Highway, Hagler Street, Newton Road. So if you live in those areas, if any of those areas kind of sound familiar to you, those are some of the area roadways that that are about to be impacted by this storm that is moving through,
Yep.
Jared. Thankfully, this radar scan, we're starting to lose that hook a little bit. It was a little more pronounced a couple of scans ago, but we still have the rotation there.
Yeah, you still have a rotation, kind of a little, maybe a touch broader than it was. And again, we'll put the normalized rotation product on there. And again, this is still registering at a 1.28. I mean, that's nothing to shake a stick at by any stretch of the imagination. If we look at the track over time, it looks like this really started to get going here. Actually, let me see if I can pull in a few more frames of the GSP radar. But we can look at the kind of the track here so far of where the circulation has been. And as you can see, that circulation began to get a little bit stronger as it crossed the South Carolina-Georgia line and then drew the tornado warning there. So again, a really shallow storm, but we are seeing some lightning with it. Kind of more in the cloud to cloud. I don't really have much cloud to ground here, but we do have some indications on the geostationary lightning mapper that there is still some lightning in the sky. But again, the tops are, when we look at the radar echo tops, they're only getting to about 30,000 feet at best, and you can really see the shear in action too, Scotty.
Oh, yeah.
You can see just how far down shear this is being blown. Really the rain here. You're already getting rain in places like we called out, like Donalds and Ware Shoals, places that we called out for something to keep an eye on for you. You're already seeing rain. Due west, you're seeing some fairly heavy rain.
And Jared, that's the concern too with these storms, is if they do start to grow taller and taller, it's tapping into a lot of that wind energy aloft that's kind of shearing the tops of these storms off. And if you're able to tap into that wind energy and it brings it down to the surface, that's where we could also see some of those damaging wind gusts. So that's another thing we'll have to watch this evening as well.
Yeah, and again, I'm taking a look. I've got a whole smorgasbord of screens over here, but I'm also taking a look at the instability there, and the instability is not huge. It is not this is kind of a kind of a springtime version of a high shear low Cape Day, which is basically the instability is relatively low and the shear is kind of there's a lot more of that. But it's enough, it's enough again to not shear these apart. There is always a balance to be had with these, and again, just taking a look at this, Scotty, I think one bit of good news is that we're certainly seeing the trend here where we are broadening this rotation out over time. Take a look at the normalized rotation product that's as weak as it's been in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So again, maybe a brief bit of good news, but we need to see how this is going to perform, because again, when I'm looking at the maps, the instability maps over here. Let's see if I can't actually, give me just a second here. I'm going to reconfigure my screen, keep that radar there for a second. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in here we go. So switch this to that. And there you go. So here's a regional, kind of the regional look at things. There's your tornado warned storm, and you can still kind of see, even in this kind of lower resolution look here, you definitely see the shear profiles stretching these storms out. Here's your tornado warned storm. This storm is roughly in about 1,000 joules of Cape, so that's not so that's healthy. That's going to be more than enough to get it done with this sort of with this going on here. Looks like the warning has just been reboxed slightly, so it cancels Anderson County. and we keep it for central Abbeville until 6:45. Latest fix from the Weather Service is that it's 7 miles northwest of Abbeville or 7 miles southeast of Lake Secession, and is moving northeast at 35 miles an hour. Still a radar indicated tornado. Again, no sign of any debris being lofted just yet, but that is a possibility. It could happen at any moment. So again, we want y'all in this tornado warning polygon to be taking shelter. Now, if you're in Anderson County, at this point, you're anywhere in Anderson County, I think you're in good shape. So Weather Service has canceled your warning. This is strictly an Abbeville County problem now. If I'm in Greenwood, also, I know the Greenwood is not in the warning here, but if I'm in Greenwood, I would be kind of interested in watching this, because if this takes, sometimes these can take a right turn, especially when they've spun up like this. And if they take a right turn, that could send it a little more towards Greenwood, and 96 might be just a little bit too south, but Greenwood, Cross Hill, so anywhere, again, there's no formal warning for these areas, and we're not, and it's not clear how long this is going to last, but we want people to be kind of close. We want people to be close to that. We want people to be on their guard for this sort of thing. So we'll go back to the high res, and again, we'll get another look at this, and you can see that's getting really disorganized now. You can kind of see almost like two inflow areas, and I wonder if these kind of handing off, maybe competing, something here, but it definitely doesn't. It's certainly losing that that well organized look that it had a few scans ago.
Yeah, when the warning was first issued, you were like, that was a pretty picturesque tornado signature look on, on reflectivity, and since then, like you said, Jared, it's starting to kind of weaken a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if it kind of recycles back up like you were talking about, maybe as it continues to move upstream. I am looking currently in the NWS chat, and I see no confirmation of anything on the ground, no damage being reported, so that is all good. I've also been looking kind of through the Twitter sphere, and I see no confirmation or any damage being reported there, so all good signs there, at least as of right now. No damage being reported.
Yeah, keep in mind though, again, this is a rural area. Reports are going to be a little slower to come out of here. And so that's going to be that's going to be one of those things that we're going to ask folks to just to be patient with that. I think if there's one potentially good thing here, is that barring a sudden right turn in the next few minutes, I think Abbeville proper, I think, will be able to give you all clear here in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so, as looks like this is continuing to trend north. Maybe a little reorganization of the circulation in the back here. You can start to see, you still have these competing things, but you can definitely see the inflow notch right here. You can still see the hook. Kind of just a few clicks north of Abbeville here. And again, this will be, again, due west, you're not in the warning. Hodges, you're not in the warning, but you certainly want to be paying attention to this storm in case GSP decides to extend this out a little bit further.
Sure does. I was actually looking at on Twitter, and I'm going to pull up the Raleigh radar, Jared. There's some action up that way, and just saw a picture of a possible funnel up in Yanceyville. So I was to pull up the radar there, just kind of see what's going on up there.
Yeah, get that up. I'll punch you up as we keep an eye on this here again, like using the storm relative product. Maybe a couple circulations competing with each other at this point, maybe a handoff here. So certainly worth watching. There, we'll get a look at what's going on in Raleigh as well. So I know.
Yeah. So I've got this. Yeah, I've got this pulled up. This storm is actually the storm that was warned earlier. And here, I'll show you the Twitter picture here in just a second. But this was just the last couple of frames. I'll show you what.
Yeah.
Has a little look to it. Again, we're going into some not favorable radar holes that we've talked about numerous times, but let me this is from Peter Forrester. So Peter's a great asset to the weather community, so when he posts something, you can take it pretty hand,
take it to the bank.
So let me get that up here. So here's what he said is a possible funnel there. So kind of tell it's a really low low cloud levels there, but
Mm-hmm.
that was the storm moving through Yanceyville just a few minutes ago.
Let
You
me punch
posted
that up
this.
real quick. Yeah,
Oh,
sorry about that. Yep, there it is. Yeah, it's kind of ragged looking. Yeah,
hard, hard to tell
that's a
with
tough one.
hard to tell with pictures. You always want
Mm-hmm.
video. Video is the gospel because you can actually see what's going on there. But
Yeah.
just it goes to show you, Jared, with any of these storms this evening, there's the potential there with some rotation with these cells that pop up until this front really moves through the area. We're going to be playing this game. It seems like this evening.
Yeah, I think if there's one good thing also though is that is that we will begin to see let's see here. Is that I just don't have the I was like, wait a second, did they cancel? No, they didn't cancel the warning. I did not put the warnings on this other display that I was using. So that's funny. So again, I mean, when we're looking at the severe weather threat, it's going to persist for a few more hours. It is going to be modulated by how much instability remains. And again, we're getting new scans of this low level rotation about every 3 or 4 minutes. So actually about every 2 minutes. Actually, I think that's a much fairer way to go about it. Still not the most organized storm you're ever going to see on radar. That hook is not looking nearly as good, but again, it does not necessarily have to look good from here. All it needs to do is have enough wind shear to bring a funnel down briefly. So again, north of Abbeville at this point, I think that's where your best shot of a tornado is going to be. And we'll have to obviously we're going to have to watch this closely over the next little bit to see if this kind of recycles up and regenerates.
Yeah, and Jared, one thing you were talking about the instability. Let's see, it's 6:20 right now, so
Yeah.
about another hour, 2 hours until the sun really sets and things really the instability kind of goes away. So there's a window of opportunity. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center earlier, I would say, I guess now about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, kind of highlighted an area and kind of triggered the 6 to 8 p.m. time frame where there could be some supercells that develop. So we're kind of in that window right now. Once we get to 8 o'clock and the sun starts to set and we lose a lot of that daytime heating, things should, I'll put them in quotation marks, should wind down a little bit. So
every once in a while, there's been research done that shows that as night falls and the boundary layer decouples, you can see some a little bit of a low level shear increase briefly. So that again could be interesting, but again, I don't think that's going to be a major thing. Let's real quick, we'll get back to the tornado warned storm in a second. Scotty, what I want to do is I'm going to take us to just a wider view of everything.
Yeah, sure.
Let's show the Carolinas here. As I click all the right buttons, I have so many buttons. That's not the one. That's the one. Yeah. See, just too many buttons. I just need fewer buttons. But here's kind of this is the bigger picture here across the Carolinas here. Down towards Charleston, just light rain. You've been socked in the clouds all day. Instability is there, but it's relatively meager, and it's kind of what we expected. Down towards the Charleston area. Again, if something had gone off, it would have been able to rotate. But what we're finding here is that there's a little split. You're closer to the warm front in North Carolina. You have a much cleaner feed of moisture to the south of South Carolina. So everybody in here, unless these storms come up from the south, and there's a remnant tornado watch rather, from Jacksonville into parts of southeast Georgia here. But again, so far so good in Charleston. Still could see some storms fire up out here. We're definitely seeing that closer to the warm front in the North Carolina mountains, getting down into Georgia, some showers here. But again, the main event, the reason why we are here is this storm in Abbeville County, South Carolina. We'll go back to the high res radar here. And we'll zoom back in on that guy. And again, Still some evidence of some rotation. Heck, there's some evidence of some anticyclonic rotation, which is kind of interesting, which is always fun. But you can see how far. I mean, this one cell. That I mean, the shear is so great that the cloud tops are blowing down all the way to Union and Lockhart at this point. So again, we're watching that closely. This tornado warning goes until 6:45 for Abbeville County. And again, if you're in this area, you want to stay in your safe place stay in your safe place until the warning lapses. It's going to be done in about 20 minutes, or more likely could probably be canceled a little bit early, depending on how this continues to evolve. So we'll be keeping an eye on it. Supercells tend to like to cycle up, but also and speaking of cycling up, I wonder if you see that last scan just came in. That's looking a little bit more healthy there. And again, maybe trying to tighten back up back here, but you can definitely see that's a little bit more pronounced than it was.
I was going to say, if you put it in motion, you can kind of see the whole cell rotating on radar. I've got it.
Yeah.
I've got it playing in motion here on the screen that I'm at, and you can actually see a little bit of rotation with the cell on radar. So
yeah, absolutely.
And Jared, another thing is it's quickly moving. So, it's going to be out of this polygon, I would say, within the next 5-10 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see if they extend this polygon up, or maybe they just convert it to a severe thunderstorm warning or something like that. We'll have to see, but I'm sure that decision will be made here shortly, as this system is cells really moving off to the northeast.
And again, I think the one thing to watch here too is that it is, it's being stretched out quite a bit, and it's the higher cloud tops, it's still popping out nicely, but it's being stretched out quite a bit, and that certainly can have effects, that can have negative effects on the storm's ability to ultimately organize. You can have too much. I mean, you can have too much.
Too much shear,
and that's something that gets us quite a bit down here, actually, which is interesting. So let's see.
There's that saying, you can have too much of a good thing, and that's one of them. You can't have too much shear to just kind of.
You can also have too much of a bad thing.
That's it goes both ways there.
Yeah, it definitely does. And again, I'm let me I don't know why I don't have full disk. Where's that's interesting. Give me just a second, y'all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick look at the satellite, because what I want to try and figure out also, how high can these get at this point? Are the updrafts going to be sufficiently strong enough to punch them up into the really good winds? And I'm not sure. When I'm punching up the mid-level IR real quick on another screen, and we're keeping this on the high-res radar for the moment, just so we can see if this rotation reorganizes. So we want to be able to put that out for everybody here. But yeah, I mean, it's right on the edge of some drier air, right on the edge of the moisture plume. It's not really moving a whole heck of a lot. So there certainly is plenty of dry air, plenty of sinking around it. And that honestly is probably helping these isolated storms, these strong updrafts, have less competition with each other. And so you do like to have a little bit of capping in place. You do for these kinds of events. You want just enough there. So again, this continues to, this is going to continue until 6:45, peaking out further out onto the radar here. A couple things that are about to come into South Carolina. Storm maybe with a little bit of weak rotation near Lakemont, Georgia. So crossing Highway 23 here, also near Hollywood and Clarksville and Turnerville. Maybe some broad weak rotation with a couple storms here. Radar suggests that this one could be producing some small hail as it moves into Lakemont, Georgia. And again, this is all coming into the upstate. So this is coming into places. This will be heading into Walhalla, Salem, Pickens, easily at some point, maybe even Greenville. So
there's our cancellation of the warning. So
good news.
Has been canceled. So that is good.
Yeah, so this is gone. This will be out of our hair in a minute. The polygon is and there it goes. So
well, hey, right at 6:30. So what we'll
perfect.
do here is we are gonna be hanging around tonight. It is Wednesday night, so we normally have a show. I'm not sure what the structure of that's going to be
Yeah.
tonight. If we're going to come back on and kind of do a recap
Mm-hmm.
or what, we'll figure that out. But do know our main priority tonight is to break in during severe weather coverage. So if there are any more tornado warnings out for the area, we will break in and give you some coverage of that. But until then, we'll get back to we got a question here.
We do have a question that I wanted to address before we get off the air, and this is from Envy Barbour on YouTube. And thank you for your question. And thank you for your patience as we get to this question covering this tornado warning. The question is Raleigh going to be hit bad tonight? That's a hard call. It definitely is not. We're not seeing there's plenty of cells, but not a lot of them are gaining strength. And if they are gaining strength, it's kind of a brief endeavor. And in fact, right now around Raleigh, you're pretty quiet. So again, in that area, I keep an eye on it. I would certainly keep an eye on it for the next little bit. But again, as we mentioned before, as the sun goes down, we should be getting into a little bit better place. Katrina Freeman is asking, how are the foothills looking? And Scotty, I will defer to you.
Yeah. So right now, actually, we were able to clear out at least some of the foothills were this afternoon. So we're going to watch these storms as they move through the southwestern part of the North Carolina mountains. Right now, there's some action. You can see Jared's pulled up the radar there. It's kind of moving into the mountains, into the Asheville area. So we'll watch those cells that are coming out of North Georgia into the upstate. I would watch that area. In fact, they just put out a special weather statement on that area. So that will have our attention for the foothills as it moves downstream. So we have a couple of hours to play with that we could see a little bit of instability and storm coverage. So overall, just be prepared. Just keep up with us and keep looking for updates. And, we will update as needed. So for now, Jared, we'll go ahead and log off, and we'll be around here, Jared and myself, and some of our other panelists will be around. And if any more warnings come up, we will jump back on and give you some coverage. Until then, for Jared Smith, we got another question. Every time we're about to leave, we got another question. Brian David didn't have too much daytime heating and dew points are low. I'd be surprised if there was a spin up, but anything is possible. Yeah,
anything is possible.
Anything is possible. These setups are kind of tricky. They saw very, very little sunshine, if any at all, up in the Greensboro, Guilford County area, and we had a funnel cloud with the tornado warning cell up there earlier. So there is some shear in the environment. Anytime you have shear and a little bit of instability, you can see anything happen. So We'll see what happens, but we'll stay up to date and keep you up to date. And if anything breaks out, we'll break back in. But for Jared Smith, I'm Scotty Powell. We'll see you back here real soon.
Thanks, everybody.